Wow, we covered a ton of information in this lesson. And if you haven't worked with networks before, you may be feeling a bit overwhelmed. Don't worry, that's natural. There's a lot to digest and it will take time. So let's do a quick recap of the major points covered in this lesson. First, you learned that fundamentally networking boils down to three main aspects: the medium, the addressing, and the content. You then studied addressing in more detail, learning about IP addresses and subnets. Next, you were introduced to the OSI model, which is an abstraction of network communication, splitting up the difficult task of networking into 7 distinct layers, each of which is responsible for a specific task. Following that, you studied switching, how traffic moves in local area networks, and how those networks are built and scaled. Next, you looked at networking from a broader perspective, studying routing. You learned about network address translation and how the internet is made up of many thousands of interconnected networks. Following this, you learned how the domain name system is used to match an alphanumeric address to the host's IP address. And finally, you learned about the advantages of load balancing, studied different approaches and a few use cases from real situations. This networking knowledge is foundational for cybersecurity, as networks tie together all of the infrastructure that we worked so hard to protect.